Hello, everyone. It's Phil Lee returning with another episode of Civil War Chat. Today is Monday, the 7th of February, 2022. Click on the subscribe button here in the lower right to subscribe to the show, and also to be notified when the new episodes are released. Click on the notification bell in the far upper right. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, so you can help us get there today by clicking on those buttons. Today's show is entitled The Opposite of a Profound Truth. All right. Physicist Niels Bohr said, quote, "The opposite of a fact is a falsehood, but the opposite of a profound truth may be another profound truth," close quote. Newtonian physics is a profound truth, without which civilization as we know it today could not exist. But Newtonian laws are not a complete truth because they are also subject to the laws of relativity. The trick to recognizing a new profound truth is to understand that pride can get in the way. If we believe that one idea is so universal that it explains everything, we can be too invested in that idea to ever consider different perspectives. Consider, for example, the causes of the Civil War. The presently dominant interpretation is that it was caused by slavery because the Declaration of Causes of Secession, written by most of the first 7 states to secede, cited slavery. But the opposite of that theory is the truth that secession need not have led to war. Nearly everyone at that time knew that the Cotton States had no intent to invade the Union and to replace the Washington government. War came only when Northerners decided to militarily coerce the Cotton States back into the Union. But they did not call it coercion. Instead, they euphemistically referred to the idea as, quote, preserving the Union, close quote. Presently, academics will cite the noble sounding preserving the Union as a war motivation for the North, without ever mentioning that the same concept from the Southern perspective is coercion. The accuracy of the descriptor, coercion or preserving the Union, is entirely dependent upon whether one's perspective is either Northern or Southern. That's why there was a war. Neither descriptor is a universal truth. Most of today's academic historians don't want to ponder a remark like Bohr's because demonizing Southerners as morally depraved enables the historians to deflect analysis of why Northerners went to war. This is all part of what I call pious cause mythology. They like to refer to anyone who disagrees with them as being a lost cause mythologist, whereas in truth, they are the pious cause mythologist. They have to have, for the Northern interest, a noble motive. Well, in truth, the Northerners' main objective of the war was to avoid the economic consequences of disunion. Chief among such consequences would be the loss of tariff protection for Northern industries that would cause them to lose their Southern markets to direct European imports. In his 1860 book, Southern Wealth and Northern Profits, Thomas Cattell estimated that Northern manufacturers annually sold $250 million of goods in the South. He also estimated that Northerners earned $63 million yearly in financial and insurance services on the South's international trade, and sold Southerners $50 million annually in goods when they traveled north on shopping expeditions. Finally, he estimated that Northerners sold imported goods valued at $106 million to the South, thereby making the Southern market worth over $450 million annually. That's about 10% of the GNP at that time, America's entire GNP, both North and South. Since the tariff collections were only $54 million in 1860, the loss of the Southern market, $450 million, to Northern suppliers was a much bigger worry than the loss of any tariff revenue per se. The prime objective of a protective or a deterrence tariff is not to raise revenue. This is important to understand. It is not to raise revenue. The prime objective of a deterrence tariff is to block imports, thereby creating monopolies or near monopolies for the domestic suppliers that benefit from the deterrence tariff. On the eve of the war between the states, tariffs on dutiable items averaged 19%. But after Northern Republicans gained control of the federal government in 1861, tariffs on dutiable items averaged 45% for the next 50 years. 19% to 45%, 50 years. That simple fact is almost totally ignored by today's historians, even though common sense dictates that what people do is a much better indicator of their goals than what they say. Everybody knows how to say the right thing, but watch what they do. Thus, the profound truth is that it was the North that went to war over tariffs, not the South. That's the key to analyzing tariffs. Why did the North want to defend them? Not why did the South want to get rid of them? When required to confront the high postbellum tariffs as a Northern war goal, the typical historian responds that high tariffs were required to pay down the national debt caused by the war. But that is merely an excuse. Nearly all other taxes were quickly reduced or eliminated when the war ended. Examples include many excise taxes as well as the income tax. Only tariffs continued high because they helped Northern manufacturers remain or become domestic monopolies. When the South desperately needed to rebuild her railroads in 1866 after the war, for example, railroad iron was priced at $80 a ton domestically, compared to $32 in Liverpool. Finally, while it may be true that most of the cotton states seceded over slavery, it is also true that secession need not have led to war. The North could have let the South go in peace, notwithstanding that the country's 1860 population was only 1/4 that of 1940. More than 700,000 American soldiers died in the Civil War as compared to 400,000 in World War II. President Lincoln ran roughshod over civil liberties, arrested Maryland legislatures in order to prevent the state's secession, disbanded Missouri's legislature under the glitter of federal bayonets, suspended habeas corpus in defiance of a contrary ruling by the Chief Justice, shut down opposing newspapers, imprisoned thousands of citizens on political whim without charging them with a crime, and manipulated the 1864 soldier vote. The war may not have been worth the cost of the violence done to the Constitution and its irrevocable push caused by that war towards a progressively more centralized government. Consider, for example, that today we are left with a federal government tyrannically restricting our freedoms as we try to return to normality from COVID-19 hysteria, over 2 years of COVID-19 hysteria. The unnecessarily protracted masking of school children is but one example of that protracted hysteria. So let me share with you this. To understand what happened during Reconstruction, I recommend U.S. Grant's Failed Presidency, which is my book about his presidency. He was the chief president during most of Reconstruction. He had 2 terms of it. And while he is commonly hailed as a civil rights hero by today's biographers and historians, when you get to know the truth about him, you'll learn 2 things. One, his administration was very corrupt. And number 2 is he didn't care about the blacks. All he cared about was the black vote. In 1875, for example, when Mississippi asked for federal soldiers to police the polls, he turned them down. And the reason he did that was because the Republicans in Ohio told him that if you send troops to Mississippi to police their elections, even the people in Ohio are fed up with that. They do not want the federal government policing state elections. And so what he did is he said, all right, I'm not going to do anything in Mississippi because I don't want to lose Ohio. And the Republicans in Ohio told him, if you do anything in Mississippi, you will lose. The Republicans will lose Ohio. So there it is. Grant didn't care about the blacks. He cared only about their votes. And once their votes became unnecessary, he and the Republican Party abandoned them. Okay, well, that's our show for today. And I want to mention also, if you like my books, please go to Amazon, give them 5 stars. It really helps us out. But that's our show for today. And I want to thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.